let's go over to Redfall. Let's just talk about this one. It wasn't a great week for Microsoft. Really, this game has had a really rough time in the last month and a half, I think. The always online stuff that they're backtracking on, the progression for co-op, where basically the story only proceeds if you're the host. The guests, their story doesn't, so you got to replay that on their side. And now the talk around the modes that it'll launch with specifically for performance. And this tweet got beaten into oblivion on here. If you look at like the comments, the likes, it was bad. They said Redfall is launching on Xbox consoles with quality mode only. Xbox Series X, 4K 30 frames per second. Xbox Series S, 1440p, 30 frames per second. The 60 frames per second performance mode will be added via game update at a later date. And then it just lost it online. Twitter was on fire. It was the whole thing. But I saw some pretty strong opinions one way or the other. However, I'm curious, MVG, I want to go to you first on this because you had some words too to say. I noticed that. But let me, 30 frames at launch.
Well,
what's going on?
It's cinematic.
Okay, so my overarching emotion about Redfall, well, at least about this messaging, is disappointment. So I'm actually someone that I think Redfall looks really cool and I want to play it. And John, we've talked about playing it. And I still think I will check it out.
Well, to be fair, John talks about playing.
Yeah, Sean makes fun of me all the time. So I'm like, yo, Redfall's coming out. We should play this, right? Just check it out. And then Sean's like, no.
So my problem is it's not that the game is running at 30, right? It's that there was no communication about this literally until like the 11th hour that this would happen, right? And to make matters worse, every single gameplay reveal trailer we've seen of so-called Xbox footage is running at 60 frames per second, right? So the communication right at the end, is it's kind of really close to the launch of the game, and having that communication right at the end it's just not a good look. And I feel like maybe if they were just more transparent about it, it would have gone a little better for them. But look, I think the biggest issue I have with this is that this is an Xbox first party release, right? Mm-hmm. And it's a Xbox Series S only release. There's no VCR version. There's no, there's no older version to worry about. No.
Yeah.
So why couldn't they get this game ready at 60 frames per second? You've got access to basically the advanced technology group, basically the guys that write the development kits, right? Like they have those types of resources at their disposal. And I just don't really understand what's happened here for this game to be in an unfinished state. And I think
interesting. Hold on. You said it's unfinished.
It is unfinished. And I think when the game comes out, we're going to see more situations throughout the game where it's clearly not quite ready yet, right?
Well, you know why they have to release it? Because if they didn't release this, then none of the games that they showed during these are the games that are coming out in the next 12 months would have came out.
You're absolutely right.
And yes, the game is unfinished because they want the 60. They said it themselves that it's not finished. This is something that they want in the game that's going to be in the game, but it's launching without it. That means it's not finished.
Yeah, and that whole self-inflicted 12 months window that they've kind of set upon themselves, they've kind of just pigeonholed themselves into this, the next 12 months thing. So look, the game should be delayed. It's not going to get delayed because we're way past that point where everything is buttoned up and ready for this game to come out. But I think it's just overall disappointing that this announcement came out when it did. I feel like no one at Arcane wants to release this game, but there was Sean alluded to, there was just a call made by management that they're just going with it no matter what. And I think ultimately the game is going to suffer because of it. A lot of people aren't going to want to play the 30 FPS game and want to wait for the finished version. That's what I'm going to say it is. And I think, I'm probably going to check it out still, and I'm probably going to play it. But by the time the patch comes out, John, to be honest, I would have moved on like 3 or 4 games by then to whenever, whatever's next. So
It's very competitive. Right now, especially, there's a lot of stuff to play. We just Jedi Survivor's coming up soon. Dead Island 2's out next week. Advanced Wars, and then we go right into Zelda, and then Final Fantasy's creeping up. So.
John, the thing with this, man, I agree with what MVG was saying. Like, it was because they showed it in 60. I watched all of the Xbox guys like Cole and Randall, and I read Jez's article. I watched all of them and what they were saying. Everything that they showed was 60. They even said it on the website or on the description that it was 60. So that was the biggest issue, and it's because it's a shooter. If this is like Starfield, where they've shown it in 30, I don't think people would be upset. If this is like a huge adventure game or open world game, that's not as big of a problem. But like a multiplayer game, like a multiplayer shooter, that feels better for 60. Like everybody kind of like, everybody likes
shooter. Yeah, it's definitely a shooter.
For shooters, yeah. Like, so if it's a, single player adventure game, then it's a little bit different. But if it's a multiplayer shooter, which this game's like Left 4 Dead or like, these type of games, Far Cry has multiplayer, like that's the reason why people are so upset, with it. That's the main thing. Not because it's 30, because Starfield's probably going to be 30. Right?
I'm kind of thinking Starfield's going to be 30.
Yeah, it's probably going to be 30, and everyone's going to be excited to play. I mean, some people would be upset, but whatever. But if it did launch at 30, I think people would be fine. We're all still going to be excited, but it's because they showed it at 60. I watched Colt's preview. It was at 60. He said it's at 60. He showed a gameplay clip. Everything's at 60, and then all of a sudden, pull the rug. It's not as 30. So I think how's
it going to be at 30? Aaron Greenberg said himself that every Xbox Series game is targeting 60 frames per second. This is a first-party game. You telling me that they can't get these games running at 60? If they can't, then there is something majorly off. And maybe I'm missing something, but like, if you can't get a first-party game running at 60 FPS on
that
Series
looks like
X,
that,
the most powerful console in the world, we have serious problems.
Let's be realistic. There's last generation games that look better than that.
I mean, you look at like Red Dead Redemption 2, that came out at 30, right? And I'm like, it's 30. But then I look at it, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna play. It looks really good, right? It's 4K on the Xbox One X, and it's a great game.
Xbox touted power. They're touting we have the world's strongest system. It's that's the thing. Like, they're touting frame rate, they're touting all that. When you do that, that's another problem. And if they didn't tout it as much, then maybe once again. But all the Xbox guys are upset with this, as well. So it's not I
think everyone is. I mean, I think there's a universal disapproval of the messaging here, and rightfully so. Like, they messed this one up big time, and I would also say that they've misled people. They've misled gamers on what Redfall's all about.
And I see someone in the chat keeps bringing up Tears of the Kingdom being 70, and that's obviously going to be 30 or probably less at times. I think the difference is Nintendo doesn't tout power. You know what I'm saying? This tablet is using 2015 technology, and you're comparing it to, like, Microsoft themselves said, the most powerful console on the marketplace. Yeah, so it's kind of apples and oranges.
I don't understand this comparison. The problem is that it's the messaging. If somebody tells you something, they showed Tears of the Kingdom at 30. The system is not the most powerful system in the world. It's not $500. They showed it at 30. We all knew it was that. We all knew heading into it. Just like Starfield has been shown at 30. So if it's 30, whatever, it's fine. It's them showing it at 60. Well, I don't understand why you bring up
if you want to make the comparison to the Nintendo, technically the last first-person shooter Nintendo released came out at 60 frames per second.
Well, Nintendo releases all their multiplayer games. Listen. Like, that's why I said Splatoon.
It's Arcane. I like Arcane. I'm like, man, we're just like beating down Arcane.
Splatoon's a shooter. All of their multiplayer games are 60, no matter if they're lacking content or whatever the case is, but they're all 60. Like Switch Sports, Mario stuff, all that stuff is 60. For multiplayer games, it's just a bit better for the first party multiplayer. So
you're talking about Prime, right, John?
Yeah, Metroid Prime Remastered.
Yeah. And that shit was wow.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. It's just weird that comparison gets brought up. And once again, play a game at 30. Like Starfield, people are gonna be excited. If that's 30, it'll be fine.
The other thing,
be good.
That preview event, I forgot about that. I just remembered it now. That preview event was the biggest ridiculous thing I'd ever seen. Like, people walk in and they see these like government issued PCs from 2014 with like Redfall on there, and no one asked any questions. I mean,
the pictures of them were pretty
The
funny.
first thing I would have asked is, where is the Xbox version? We're like literally 6 to 8 weeks from launch of this game. Why are we playing this on PC? Like, I don't feel like anyone that was sent out there asked any hard questions. Next time they need to send me out there. I'll
send MVG.
Cole said that he. Here's the thing:
a no nonsense, no BS take of the game. Don't send these people out there that like aren't going to say anything bad. Send real people out there that can actually speak up about this.
But that doesn't help their bottom line.
Yeah, that's the whole point of those events. That's why those events
look where they are now.
They want the shiny objects lovers. Like that's all.
But look where they are now. They're literally weeks from launch, and this game is like going to be DOA. Like
it's Game Pass. What does it matter?
Oh man, they could have done much better here. They could have done much better here.
I forgot who it was, but I watched Colt's video, and he said that somebody next to him, I forgot who the content creator was, did ask them about it and was fidgeting with some of the stuff in the settings or whatever the case. But I don't remember the content creator's name. But I think there maybe was one person who did ask them about that. But I guess there was some NDAs on what can be said or what could not be said or what can be shown, what could not be shown. I mean, I'm not sure what the specifics are of it, but that was the event in Los Angeles, right? That you're talking about with that preview event.
Okay. They flew people out to.
Yeah, they flew people. Yeah.
Isn't the PC version launching at 60?
Yeah, yes. But it apparently has its own issues as well. Like it was all over the place.
The PC version 60?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be.
But the Xbox version is 70.
No, we're talking about frames.
Oh, I thought you meant like the price. I was like, hold on a minute. You're talking about $60 for that? Hold on.
John, who's buying it? Come on. Who's buying a game that's on Game Pass?
No, the PC version will probably be like, people will push it up above 60 frames. But there is de novo on that. And that's kind of that's a coin flip. Ask MVG. You don't know what's coming out of that.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Sean, I'm probably gonna wait until it's on a deep discount on Black Friday, and I'll get it then. And hopefully the patch will be in, and I'll just play it then. I think.
Hold on, I got a note. We might just be really old men yelling about this right now. Josie, is the frame rate is that like the frame rate comparison stuff? Is that a concern? When you go and pick up a game or something, do you look at performance for, we'll say Switch games as an example, but any of these different games?
I'm not a huge performance person, but I think this situation is a little bit different, mostly because of the misleading situation towards it. I'm sort of on the outside, so I don't know a ton about it, but I think, like you guys were saying, I go into Nintendo games not expecting perfect power. I saw what Scarlet and Violet looked like, and then I proceeded to play them and laugh at all the glitches. I don't really care, but stuff like this, where it's so specific to, like, first-person shooters, I feel like should almost always be 60, and I think it's hard because Xbox has really almost zero first-party games coming out, so they don't just want to push stuff back like this, but I think it's unfortunate that it's launching at the state it is. And I think people are rightly upset. I don't really have a huge stake in it, but I think it's kind of crappy as a situation.